So remember you voted for Joe Biden because he was decent and cared about people and blah, 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 blah. He's sending U.S. troops back to Somalia, reversing Trump's pullout. So now he's occupying a third of Syria. He's helping commit a genocide in Yemen, just as Joe Biden. He's also just gave $50 billion to Ukraine to start a nuclear war with Russia. And now he's ramping it up in Somalia. Good vote. So if you were the anti-war person, you should have voted for Trump and the Republicans. That's what this means. If you're pro-war, you vote for Joe Biden and the Democrats.
I was trying to save abortion. That's why I voted for Biden.
President Biden signed off this month on a plan returning U.S. troops to Somalia and reversing former President Donald Trump's pullout of roughly 700 troops from the East African country. Biden authorized a persistent U.S. military presence in the East African country with an estimated cap of 500 Americans, a U.S. official said Monday. The troops will help Somalia's fledgling government fight the al-Shabaab militant group, which is affiliated with al-Qaeda. Wait a minute. I thought we liked al-Qaeda in Syria. We were helping fund them. I thought they're our friends. But now we're fighting them in al-Qaeda?
Did al-Shabaab have a falling out with al-Qaeda? Is that
what happened? We are proud, first and foremost, to be supporting the Somalis' own efforts to rebuild their own state, and we are working closely with other international partners, the U.S. official said before sidestepping a reporter's question about the possibility of U.S. troops fighting a forever war in the country, a concept against which both Biden and Trump campaigned. White House National Security Council spokeswoman Adrienne Watson said the deployment would allow for a more effective fight against al-Shabaab. This is a step that rationalizes why the fuck are we fighting anybody in Somalia? Why do we give a shit about al-Shabaab in Somalia?
I don't know.
I'm going to guess oil.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to guess natural gas. I'm going to guess there's something there that there's a resource there we want, or it's resource adjacent, or it's another way to funnel military-industrial complex money to the military-industrial complex. It's not about helping the people of Somalia. That's for goddamn sure.
This is not important who wins the game. Just important we all had fun.
That's right. This is a step that rationalizes what was essentially an irrational arrangement that we inherited. It was irrational because it created unnecessary and elevated risk to U.S. forces as they moved in and out of the country on a rotational basis. What kind of... What? We're doing this for safety. In December of 2020, Trump ordered U.S. troops to withdraw from Somalia, and the Pentagon said the exit had been completed days before Biden took office in January 2021. On Monday, the U.S. official slammed Trump for removing troops in the first place. Against the advice of senior U.S. military leadership, the previous administration had directed the withdrawal of approximately 750 U.S. military personnel from Somalia. It was an abrupt and sudden transition to a rotational presence. Now, we've spoken to people from Ethiopia, and they talked about that how Trump was way better for the people of Africa than the Democrats. The Democrats are always funding coups and always siding with terrorists to overthrow democratically elected governments. That's what we were told by people from Ethiopia, news people. And this is proof that Trump was better for Africa than Biden, than the Democrats. He gave those people a breathing room. Restoring a persistent U.S. military presence will help to increase the security and the freedom of movement for other personnel, such as State Department and USAID colleagues, as they conduct critical diplomatic and developmental missions. So this is so we can do more hegemony, so we can do more imperialism. That's what this is for, to make our imperialism safe. The latest deployment is likely to be met with bipartisan support, which is why you know it's horrible. Party leaders in Congress generally favor U.S. military deployments, while left-wing Democrats Libertarians and some conservative Republicans favor a more restrained global U.S. role. You can get rid of left-wing Democrats.
No kidding.
It's only libertarians and conservative Republicans. The left-wing Democrats are not left-wing anymore. They're right-wing Democrats. There are no left-wing Democrats.
Squad being deployed, I believe.
I think they should deploy the squad. Executive branch officials say the United States intervention in Somalia is legal under the authorization for use of military. So when we got attacked on 9/11 21 years ago, they passed this authorization for use of military force. That meant that George Bush could go fight al-Qaeda wherever they were in the world. So now they've been using this for 21 years to do things like this, to go into a country like Somalia that had nothing to do with 9/11. And now we have to make it look like we're fighting al-Qaeda there so we can use the authorization of military force. That's all they have to do is say there's a terrorist there, and now we can go to war without declaring war. However, al-Shabaab became affiliated with al-Qaeda in 2012, and critics argue the 2001 AUMF does not cover Somalia because it doesn't cover Somalia. U.S. troops have fought Islamic extremists in Somalia since George W. Bush administration, and before that, famously intervened in the country's civil war, with 19 U.S. troops being killed in 1993, operation that inspired the film Black Hawk Down. So we've been fucking with Somalia for a long time. So, yeah, you know there's oil or some kind of resource there. Joe Biden has bombed Somalia 3 times in less than 2 weeks. This is from August 5th, 2021. So this is, Joe Biden has bombed Somalia 3 times in less than 2 weeks. No UN condemnations, no global outrage, little to zero media coverage. It's the Obama era all over again.
No Bono concert?
No Bono concert. The United States is abetting an al-Qaeda offshoot in northwestern Syria. So we're supposed to be fighting an al-Qaeda offshoot, al-Shabaab, while we're also abetting an al-Qaeda offshoot in northwestern Syria. Syria has been locked in a war for years, and the United States has been aiding in it by aiding al-Qaeda in Syria. And now we're fighting al-Qaeda in Somalia. I'm getting mixed messages. Alex Rubenstein said, if you had told me when I was a teenager full of rage towards the Republican Party for what they were doing to Iraq and Afghanistan, that it would be the Democrats who started most of the wars in my lifetime, I would have laughed in your face. Imagine being so confident in your propaganda system that you launch an invasion of Somalia while complaining about Putin invading Ukraine, knowing that your corrupt media and blue checks on Twitter will never call out the hypocrisy. Tyrants and dictators are in awe of the U.S. media.
Oh, Somalia has, Overton text me, Somalia has lithium.
Oh, so that's it. They must have, they have lithium? Okay.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders says, if we can bail out the crooks on Wall Street, yeah, we can cancel all student debt in this country, because that's the kind of shit he likes to say while doing nothing to make that happen. Comrade Misty Putin says, remember when this chode pretended like Biden could be the new FDR? Instead of student debt forgiveness, we get the invasion of Somalia and a proxy war against Russia. That's what we got. Instead of student aid relief. Or student debt relief. Well, we got a fucking proxy war with Ukraine and Somalia. Not even a proxy war in Somalia. We're doing it. Justin Amos says, President Biden didn't end the 2001 war. He just continued it elsewhere. U.S. military action in Somalia is unconstitutional and it's illegal. Repeal the 2001 AUMF, which doesn't authorize this war. So President stop using it as a false justification for military force anywhere on earth. You will not hear the member of the squad say that. You will not hear a Democrat say that. You will not hear a pretend progressive say that. But Justin Amash will say that. Here's Chuck Modi. He says, it is time to end forever war. He's quoting, I'm pretty sure, Joe Biden. President Joe Biden when pulling out of Afghanistan while committing billions in funds to troops in Ukraine, Israel, and Somalia. So he's, again, we're in forever war. It's never stopping. This is a death economy. Here's Primo Radical tweets out, the move reverses a decision by President Donald Trump to withdraw all U.S. troops from the country in 2020. Once again, Democrats are now to the right of Republicans on foreign policy. I don't know what else to tell you, but the nihilists that tell you to keep supporting Joe Biden and the Democrats are just that. They're nihilists. And what is that hallmark of nihilism? Denying reality and not trying to participate. What you're doing is you're just giving up. If you keep voting for Democrats, you're just giving up. That's what nihilism is to me. You're denying reality and you're giving up. Let me get Siri to tell me what the definition of nihilism is. Hey, Siri, what's the definition of nihilism?
Nihilism means the rejection of all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless.
That's what it sounds like people who want you to continue to vote Democrat want you to do. They want you to believe that life is meaningless and just give up.
I like how
fighting is meaningless, standing up is meaningless, sticking your chin out is meaningless, fighting against the oligarchy is meaningless. It also, another definition of nihilism is extreme skepticism, maintaining that nothing in the world has a real existence, or historically, the doctrine of an extreme Russian Revolutionary Party. But I also had another definition the other day where it says it denies reality. How come you didn't tell me that one, Suri? But that's the one, because that's the one I like the most. Go ahead, Kurt. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I like. We have a lot of pro Sophie's Choice Democrats. They're not pro-choice.
Yeah. Hey, I'm on tour. Come see me in Irvine, California, Las Vegas, Indianapolis, Salt Lake City, Washington. Washington? You mean Washington State?
Yes.
Yes. Go to JimmyDoreComedy.com for a link for all those tickets.